Welcome back. Mr. Innocent Chkwuma has been a keen observer of Nigeria's battle against insurgency by Boko Haram. He has been opportune to see the commitments to combating the terror group from both sides. With President Buhari's trip to the United States, it would be fair to say that the U.S. government does love the Nigerian president, right?
Yeah, this is a good time for Nigeria's diplomacy and reputation around the world following the inter-party alternation of power that we witnessed on March 28 during the presidential election that the opposition party won, and coming against the background of frosty relationship between the U.S. and the previous government led by President Goodluck Jonathan. There is keen interest on both sides, the U.S. government, the Nigerian side, to renew the warm relationship that they used to have, which was what led to the invitation to President Buhari to visit Obama on the eve of his departure for the African countries trip he embarked on last week or so.
Mm. And well, there have been quite lots of commendation for the president on that following that trip, and there's also been criticism too that the U.S. president should have at least made an effort to come to Nigeria. Does it make any sense fixing a meeting with the Nigerian president and then coming down to Nigeria about 2-3 days, coming down to Africa 2-3 days later and bypassing Nigeria?
Well, in my view, there are various ways you could look at that trip. It was indeed a face-saving measure on the part of the American government because Nigeria was not on the list of countries to be visited. And if you remember, when he came to visited the last time and came close as Ghana, the report was Nigeria had a bad human rights record, had a corruption record, and the previous government was not dealing with it. So coming this time around, when we have a change of government, they felt that they could not explain it. And that was what perhaps informed the hasty invitation to President Muhammad Buhari to visit him on the eve of his departure, so that during the visit, if the issue came up, he will say, well, I just met President Buhari the previous time. But the question Nigerians should actually ask is, yes, the invitation was made. Yes, we're interested in returning or restoring normalcy in our relationship with the U.S. government. Was it really the right time to accept that invitation, given the fact that the government has not been fully formed? There was no cabinet, which was perhaps what informed President Buhari having to personally attend several meetings that cabinet members could have done, because there was no counterpart on the Nigerian side to embark on that. If I were one of his handlers, I would have graciously accepted the invitation, but asked that it be shifted until after I have fully formed a government, announced fully my policies to the Nigerian people before going on a foreign tour to state what I plan to do.
What do you think were the benefits of that trip? Because people say, well, I've heard some analysts say that it's good for positioning Nigeria in the international community. I mean, look at what has happened recently. Nigeria has been elected again as president of the UN Security Council. That's the fourth time, fourth or fifth time, I think, that we've done it. So what were the benefits we could say we got from that trip?
There were certainly benefits. I mean, you couldn't go all the way to America for a visit without having something nailed down before you leave. Such meetings are often preceded by serious negotiations and agreements of what they are even going to jointly say during the press briefing. So I'm sure if they didn't get something, they would not have gone. But whether they really got what they hoped to get, the key one which the president spoke about being the restoration of supply of arms, if not directly from America, but allowing other countries that want to sell to Nigeria to perhaps do so. I don't think they really got that. But again, I guess all of this would have to be weighed against the background of whether we were actually very well prepared for that visit, given the fact that we don't have a cabinet in place.
And since you're talking about the president, the main reason for the meeting being that the president was to solicit, restoration of ties, supplying of weapons and so on. President Buhari has made a number of trips outside the country. He's been to Chad, he's been to Niger. What sort of impression are we giving the rest of the world if a president is, you know, seeking these sorts of ties and going by himself to seek, you know, support against fighting an insurgents group as this? Couldn't we have just had a, you know, a joint conference and, you know, a regional meeting and everyone say what they're going to give and, you know, a strategy is developed and implemented?
I don't actually see anything wrong in he personally visiting the neighboring countries that are critical in fighting Boko Haram. You know, for long we had seen it as something that Nigerian military or Nigerian state could do alone, but terrorism is a cross-border crime, especially when we are located in a region of porous borders. Borno State alone had over 50, some even say 100 undocumented borders through which you know, these weapons could be brought in. And also the fact that culturally, traditionally, the ties between people on the other side of the border, whether you're talking about Niger, you're talking about Chad or Northern Cameroon, these are kids and kin of their Nigerian side. I happen to have served in Borno State. In fact, Mongonu local government area, which was one of the areas taken by Boko Haram. And people from the other side of the border had much more to do with Borno people than me coming from the south to serve there. I couldn't speak the language. I couldn't speak Kanuri. So given such a setting, you cannot deal with an insurgency group that draws support, draws supply from all these neighboring countries without personally visiting them. And the former government of President Goodluck Jonathan was said not to have done very well in that relationship. We saw what was credited to President Biya, that he called our former president a number of times. He didn't pick his call. If that was indeed what happened, then I guess it was not the right thing to have done. So by President Buhari visiting them is to reassure them we have a new government in power that understands the importance of regional collaboration, that respects neighbors and neighborly relationship. And the hope is that with such personal visit by the president, that this country would fully support the efforts to rein in this insurgency. Do
you think the president has a strong strategy to fighting Boko Haram?
I think he does, at least on the security side. Increasing capacity of security agencies to do this. He has done, and the critical one is motivation. You know, by moving the command and control from Abuja to Borno State, which is the epicenter of this battle, so that the generals who are doing this, who are in charge of this command, will be in touch with the soldiers and motivate them, which was what was said not to have been done under the previous government. It's important. And also you might describe it as a symbolic gesture. The fact that the chief of army staff went to these states to do break the Salah and do the celebration with them, which is what you read in other parts of the world. The president, the commander-in-chief visiting the soldiers on the front line and reassuring them that the country is behind them. Because when you are isolated in such a battle on the borders, on the war front, you don't know what the rest of the country thinks, or you wonder whether they are fully appreciative of what you people are going through. So seeing such important personnel come to the forefront to be with them is also another thing. And I've also seen they have suspended, in fact, disbanded the court martial, because you can't be trying soldiers while they are in the middle of a battle. So all these would boost it. But the other side, because this people have said, this is not just a security problem. It's also a social problem, it's an economic problem, it's a political problem. We want to quickly see the president also acting on these other fronts.
You have suicide blasts happening in Borno State and in Adamawa State, and it just seems like the military is sitting down and folding their arms. So do they really have a strategy? Does it look like they do?
Well, I think there has been a strategy they inherited from the previous government, which you don't change overnight, which is increasing security capacity to deal with these insurgents. But I would say there's a period of uncertainty in terms of the people who were left from the previous government. Are they going to continue? These are people who had prepared their handover and they were asked to stay and they were waiting to be removed any moment, and then they lingered for almost 2 months. That caused, in my view, some unsettling within the board. Now that a new set of people have been appointed to head the services, I think is a clear signal that the government is moving away and perhaps have had time to review some of the strategies adopted by the previous government that appear not to have fully worked. But then, as you would expect, when you have a vacuum or perceived vacuum, when you are dealing with an insurgent of the type Boko Haram is, they will seek to take advantage of that. So, which is what we expect the new service chiefs now, and they have started doing it. We read the other day that Dikwa has been taken back, you know, from the insurgents. So, we want to see more of this in the coming days. Yeah.
Hey, this is where we end the program for now. Thanks for joining us this week. Join us again next time. But in the meantime, do leave a comment or your questions on any of our social media platforms. I am Amarachi Ubani. Have a great week.